Okay, tell me when. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to,
Let me in. Yeah, let me in.
are you good?
Well, she's gonna let me in.
Okay. Because you're up.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the Moab City Council meeting, August 27th meeting back to order after our closed session. And our first item of business is a workshop on capital asset planning update. And David is going to present that to you this evening.
All right. There we go. Okay, so this is sort of a, I guess, an interim report check-in workshop update for you all with regard to the capital asset planning process. And mostly as I'd say a refresher, but also a way to frame up how we will be planning for and looking forward at capital assets for the city in the future. So we'll be talking a little bit about where projects are at for the fiscal 25 budget year, as well as what the process is moving forward to identify and prioritize capital assets. So really quickly, we're going to start by talking about what we mean when we say capital assets. We're talking about a bunch of different things. It's not just buildings. It's not just parks and things like playgrounds or skate parks that are within parks. It's also paved active transportation infrastructure, which includes sidewalks, not just pathways. Roads, of course, with curb and gutter, major asset that we always kind of the classic. Sewer, our culinary water, stormwater infrastructure that the city is responsible for is the capital asset. Vehicles and equipment, both equipment that is a that has wheels, I guess you could say, as well as equipment that doesn't. So exercise bikes could qualify as a capital asset, depending on the cost. And then IT infrastructure and equipment is one that doesn't always get remembered as being considered a capital asset, but given how much of a investment it takes to maintain information technology infrastructure and equipment, it's absolutely something to be considered in the capital asset planning process. And for generally our auditors like us to consider anything that is an item that costs more than $5,000 and is a physical thing is to be considered an asset for the purposes of planning and preservation. So in terms of asset planning, I really like to think of it in I think 4 different ways. One is you have assets and you try to preserve them. So you try to keep them as they are or close to the status that they're in. And I mean, that's like if a building, you build a new building, you want to do everything you can to make sure it doesn't deteriorate. So you're preserving it. There's restoration that needs to happen. And you can think of, I think Cane Creek Boulevard is a great example of a restoration project where we aren't just preserving the asset, but we are restoring it back to a state that it should be in, at which point we can preserve it, right? A third way to think about assets are assets that you add to other assets, and the Mill Creek Parkway comes to mind. If we added another length of that somewhere to connect a certain part of town to the rest of the parkway, that's an additive asset planning endeavor. And then there's new assets, right? So if we wanted to get a wave pool like they have in Price, that would be a new asset that we would put somewhere. I'm not suggesting we're going to, because Brianna would kill me, but that's the concept. So really preservation, restoration, additive and new asset planning and new assets are the ways to think about it as you move forward. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where we are currently. You all approved, the council approved budget for capital improvement projects for this current fiscal year that we're still more or less barely into, not even 2 months into. They included continuing the Cane Creek restoration reconstruction project, the downtown dispersed parking project. The Mill Creek overlay was a chip seal, but it's been upgraded to more of a mill and fill project. The Pack Creek active transportation bridge or pedestrian footbridge over there behind the Episcopal Church That was on the list, as well as the dark sky conversion process for city-owned facilities and streetlights. So all these are in the works in various stages. We did put out a press release and did some outreach about these, but so I won't get into too much detail about their status. Cane Creek, we expect though just to be hopefully paving in November with landscaping finishing up in the spring, downtown dispersed parking, working through getting that pretty much dialed up before the end of the fall here entirely. The Mill Creek Overlay Project may, or we've the latest correspondence we've received, unfortunately, is that may get delayed into October for a start date. We're having conversations with the contractor on that one to see if there's any way they can not have that be the case, because that was unfortunate news we just heard today or this week. The transportation bridge, the bridge over there, we are looking to remove the one that is existing. And I say existing in that it's standing over in the Matheson Wetlands Preserve. It doesn't connect across that creek anymore because that creek's much bigger. So we're working with Nature Conservancy to move that bridge out of there and use it over at the Episcopal Church instead. And then the dark sky conversion process is underway. We just received the invoice for the first $50,000 of decorative dark sky compliant lights today. So that is in the works as well. Well, you know about the Old City Park Pond project to get the fencing up there and get that thing back into shape. We're in the process of doing that right now. MRAC capital repair and upgrades were also on the list, and we're just doing those as they come right now. Brianna will be talking a little bit more comprehensively about the MRAC program coming up here today. Land acquisition for active transportation projects is on the list. That's a TBD one for now. And then the arterial and minor collector repair and repaving item on the capital improvements list for fiscal 25 is one that I wanted to get into just a little bit. The city did in 2020 have this January of 2020, this plan was complete. And this is the roadway evaluation facilities plan. It basically provides guidance on prioritizing the projects that are needed for roadway preservation, restoration, and maintenance. So it is definitely outdated at this point. It provides us some guidance, but if you look at what's on this, and this is 7 out of the 10 years that are in the plan, the kind of the consolidated priority list. We, first of all, I would say don't look at the costs at all because they're kind of completely irrelevant at this point. But that said, you know, a number of these items on this list have actually gotten taken care of through the 3 main projects that we have been working on between Cane Creek, dispersed parking, and the Mill Creek Drive overlay. So it is fair to say that a number of these items have been able to be addressed through, the redirection of that UDOT fund money, as well as getting the CIB grant and loan for Cane Creek. So it's nice to see. Given that, we do have some happy smiley faces up there. There are still projects that are left on this list to do, and that helps guide us in terms of thinking about what to start to work on for fiscal year 25 with those funds that were allocated. So you've got a stretch along 4th East from 1st North to 3rd South that needs a treatment. There's still a section on Mill Creek Drive on the far south end of the city's jurisdiction that needs some treatment as well. And then a big one is the 4th East stretch from Kiva Drive to Main Street. So really that kind of southernmost stretch of 4th East. And those are significant. That's a significant project that along with the 100 East stretch there behind City Market, that we're saying probably would be the ones we'd want to focus on getting done. And this is really, what I'm saying based on what the plan says. That said, this is a dynamic process always, and then ultimately it's y'all's decision and your discretion if these are the projects that you think we should prioritize for fiscal 25 to get those started. Probably planning now, design to the degree it's needed, and then we would start to hopefully kick into construction next spring on most, if not all of those additional projects. Any questions about that? I would say simultaneously, we're going to update this plan because it's again, it's probably not perfect and needs a lot of revisions. I mean, the data is really from 2019, even though it was published in 2020. So it's time to update this as well. That said, I want to talk a little bit about where we are with regard to projects and planning that's related to stormwater management and potential flooding and flood issues that have happened. This is the FEMA's flood insurance study. It's the most recent version of this from 2009. it's a good document. It's a long document. It's got good information in it. However, piece that stuck out to me was noting that at least up until 2009, the largest Mill Creek flood of record occurred in 1953 and peaked at 5,100 cubic feet per second. So we've had 2, 3, 4 events since then that have peaked at more than that. So we live in different times than I think, historically speaking, we have lived in. So there are a number of projects that have been in the works, especially since the 2021 and 2 floods, right? And they are as listed here. Some of these are sort of area specific. Some of them are well, they're specific to a specific place, but some of them are grouped into a larger project that we're doing in multiple locations. So we've got one by the Youth Garden project there, the 3rd South 100 East area, the Main Street Bridge area. You'll see a number of these projects are really making sure that we are protecting the bridges that we have, the infrastructure that we have, so that they do not suffer worse damage. Number of pedestrian bridge repairs and bridge decking we're working through in the corridor. Again, the 4th East, Mill Creek, and Pack Creek bridges are a project that you know about. Those are basically to strengthen those bridges, protect them, and deal with the creek channel in there with regard to the bridges. And then the Mill Creek's, calling it the Mill Creek Stabilization Project, which is also known as this NRCS project because a bunch of the funding came from there, includes putting in these gabion walls, those gabion baskets of rocks that are caged rocks in various locations throughout the corridor. Along with this drop structure downstream of 4th East, the 4th East Bridge. All right, so that's really projects. That's a list of most of the projects that we're doing right now or in the process of doing. Related to that are what we are looking at in terms of our ability to assess, the capacity to assess and plan for the corridor moving forward, given this relatively new world we live in. So really there's a plan to do comprehensive assessment throughout the corridor, and that's really from the Power Dam area down within the city limits. You know, sometimes it's easier to think of them in terms of reaches, different sections, and that's why they're listed here that way. But really we're looking at comprehensive planning throughout with a particular emphasis on the 100 West to 500 West area because of the I guess you could say intersection of the recreation and flooding concerns that are there. Then the Mill Creek Detention Basin is a concept that exists. It is not a project, but there has begun the scoping and kind of an alternatives analysis, you could say, for the potential for a detention basin on Mill Creek somewhere above, above the city would be like somewhere to the upstream side of the Mill Creek Drive road. So we don't know what that looks like. We don't know where that might go. Recognize that is a complex potential project, no matter how you slice it, but it's something that should be absolutely examined, and we need to know what our options are there, if any. All right. In addition to that, we know that we have undersized bridges in this city. It is just very evident from everything that's been experienced in the last few major flooding events, and particularly the Third South Bridge and the Fifth West Bridge, and then the Fourth East Bridge along Mill Creek are ones that are they're big ticket items, but they're significant constricting points for the channel, for the creek bed, and we know that we need to address them here. So we're really going to start really digging into potential funding options and funding sources for these types of projects. Additionally, larger projects may come out of the corridor assessment process and of this detention basin scoping process, but we don't know what those are yet. So moving on to the overall capital asset planning process, it really is it's a three-part process. You identify your needs, you prioritize your needs, and you fund your needs, right? So identifying needs, a lot of that happens through a formal planning process, in that we have all of these published plans and plans we know that are either coming soon or that we need to initiate. For instance, we don't currently have we don't have a fleet management plan, and that would be a good plan to have, because right now we just ad hoc deal with our vehicles. And sometimes a fleet management plan would include things like leasing. Would we lease vehicles? When do we buy vehicles? What's the real strategy around leasing versus buying? How long do you maintain an asset before you sell it, or surplus it, I should say. And so that's an example of a plan that we will initiate here to help us identify our needs in the long term. Same with facilities that are not recreation and parks facilities, because we do have a relatively great and new master plan for parks and recreation that just was at the end of the year last year. So there are all these plans, but it is also, I can't emphasize enough that plans are never perfect and things change. And but just because something isn't in a plan per se does not mean that it cannot be considered for the capital asset planning process. So in other words, if something's not in a plan, it could still go into your capital asset planning. You could still fund it. And we see that happen fairly frequently, honestly, because again, plans aren't going to be perfect and priorities change, and we have to be flexible and adaptable in that context. So that's the identifying piece. The prioritization piece is really broadly speaking, a two-step process. We at the staff level will draft a 5-year CIP plan, and then based on what we need something to work from to start with, and that will be what you all will really springboard off of at your annual strategic planning retreat, so that you have good information and sort of a sense of the landscape prior to going into strategic planning. And then whatever comes out of that in terms of prioritization from you all will drive what ends up in the budget. And the annual budgeting process is really where you fund your projects, right? And so you'll adopt a 5-year CIP, approved for funding projects on a pay-as-you-go basis. Yeah, we're gonna spend $500,000 on project X and $200,000 on project Y. And then as we get a little further into it, either next fiscal year or the next, we'll be ready to really prepare for that bonding for that package of larger projects that will take up the bulk of the funding that's coming from the property tax. So the last piece of the puzzle is the human side, in ensuring that we actually have the capacity as a city, as an organization, to do the things that we know you want us to do, right? And that does take humans to do, right? And it takes it in three ways. One is in the planning and preparing process, what I'm doing here is part of it, but it's also thinking about project scoping, estimation and cost estimation, that kind of thing. So that is something we'll want to make sure we are properly staffing for. Project management, once it's time to actually do the project, these are city projects. Contractors are going to be doing the vast majority of them, but it takes significant amount of time to manage that if we're going to do it right. So we need to make sure we have that kind of capacity in place. And then the last piece is asset preservation. And that's a lot of what our works staff do right now. We need to make sure that they are prepared to do that for assets that are coming back online and any new assets that we bring to the table as part of this process. So preparing, implementing, and maintaining in terms of building capacity and having the right capacity in the city. With that, I leave you with this moment of Zen. This is there you have it. That's the pedestrian bridge we're hoping to move over to the Episcopal Church. But it was quite the impressive Class 2 rapid there in the wetlands the other day. So at this point there,
Questions?
discussion, yeah.
I mean, so we just ran through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, does the city have software to track like all of its capital assets? I know the hospital's like implementing a software where you can kind of put in different categories, like put in like maintenance time periods so that you get like auto reminders and everything.
We do. Polaris has that capability right now, our accounting software. We definitely do not use it right now, but that is something we're going to put into play. We've already started that process by when the switchover happened, when we went away from Cassell and now to Polaris, we never got all of our assets back in there that exist now. So that's the first step we've been working on. And then we'll move forward to do exactly what you're saying, is use it as a true capital asset planning preservation tool.
I feel like something that I think we've all heard a lot about over the last month is a lot of questions about how numbers were established in the CIP as it is right now. I was wondering if you could talk about how where those numbers came from, how they're developed.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a range typically of sort of specificity around estimates, right? Sometimes we know we have a good sense of exactly what a lane mile might cost based on projects we've done very recently. Other projects, it's more of a high level estimate than that. So it really can be a range, you know. And given how we have been a little bit burned on underestimating the cost of projects, even though we thought we were being conservative in how we did that, you know, we're trying to avoid falling into that same situation moving forward. So some of these estimates may seem high, and they probably are in certain contexts, but it also will depend on, once we start to drill into specific projects that you all approve, what those costs will be. And it can sometimes be a little bit chicken or egg, because you're like, well, I need to know if this is a $2 million project or a $10 million project, right? So we try to, you know, figure out to the degree we can a broad estimate of a cost, and then from there, if you know, if the council says, yeah, that's something we're more or less comfortable with, start to really drill down into the costs from there. That's, from a process standpoint, how we would do it, because it's not probably, it's always a balance, right? Like, you want to spend enough time and energy and resources to get these estimates close to accurate, but at the same time, the amount of time, money, and resources it takes to get them super accurate is probably not worth it until you really are feeling good about doing that project.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's ultimately like kind of safer to overestimate than underestimate, just so that we don't catch ourselves like not being able to complete that project. And as long as the funds aren't restricted, like if we do overestimate or over budget, then we can potentially shift that money over towards other capital projects.
That's absolutely.
Other questions for David?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about the CIP projects and how we came up with these projects in, you know, January of last year when we had the strategic retreat. would it make sense for us to get together again, like mid-year, and reevaluate that process and reprioritize, or as other things come up, like that we've, kind of addressed, like such as, flood mitigation, that may need to be bumped up, that we want to bump up to the top, or we, or give it the, address it, within the group, as the council to decide if there should be a reprioritization as we decide what going into the fall.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can. And certainly sometimes extraordinary circumstances very much would warrant that, right? I guess the only caveat or sort of pause on that would be, it's always, as long as you're budgeting in the context of everything you got to budget for, right? That's what you want to try to minimize is kind of spot budgeting so that it doesn't, so that when you're budgeting, you make sure you have all the things you're looking at in front of you at once. So if you're doing that within just the capital asset planning process, that can certainly be done in a mid-year capacity too.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, so like the third South Bridge, which isn't
Mhm.
necessarily on anyone's top of the list right now.
Right.
We would probably want to say like, hey, and I'm just using this as an example, it's like, we should probably start working on, like, if we want that to get bumped up to the top, that we think that's a priority, then we can start coming up with estimates, and stuff to see kind of where it falls in line as we're budgeting for these CIP projects, and be like, hey, here's the 2-year, view, and then here's the 5-year view. And we're going to place, these things in the 2-year and getting estimates on those. And then these are going to be the 5-year and try to how they fit in with that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but doing it so that we're not waiting all the way until we get to strategic planning in January, and then strategic planning January, oh, we want to bump this up here, and then we're 6, 7, 8 months out from getting estimates, which
Yeah, we don't want for
draws
sure.
out
And
that timeline.
I mean, that's part of where, as a staff, we're already thinking about that and, already moving forward with like, yeah, we need to make sure that we're ready to demonstrate to the council when we get to strategic planning, like this thing is a priority, here's why. And we've already started working on some of that estimating so that we aren't kind of holding back and waiting for you all to make that decision without any better information.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's as much as we like to think that it's a linear, straightforward, analytical process. It is, but it isn't as well, right? There's an art to the science, and sometimes, we as a staff in particular need to be flexible and be ready to adapt and anticipate what some of the needs are going to be in this kind of way, right? Like, yeah, I mean, Third South Bridge is a great example. We've already started having discussions with potential funding sources, at different levels, federal level particular. And it's like, all right, what information are they going to need in order for us to be able to make a strong case for that bridge? So, we weren't going to wait for strategic planning to do that.
But it's also this like kind of weird balance of not getting too far ahead of yourselves because of like the volatility that we've seen in the economy recently.
Right.
Where like something crazy might happen, and a lot of the work that went into trying to get those estimates, I don't want to say it's all for naught, but it's like 75% of the way or something.
Right. Exactly right.
I'd like to go back to the human element that you spoke about. And we've had our departments head say, some of them just say, we're just understaffed. We can't keep up with what we're doing right now. I would rather not wait until strategic planning to have some of those positions in front of us to see what that human element is really going to cost, and how we as a council need to plan and support our department heads so that they have what they need to do the job.
Okay, I hear you.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I think, on one of your slides, you had something about funding needs, in terms of when we're planning for bonding.
Mhm.
And so I was just curious if you could talk about, because we talked about, potentially starting some of the arterial, like minor road projects next year. Those are on the CIP list as bonded projects. Can you talk about how we're gonna plan for bonding, like what we start sooner,
Right.
versus what we're planning for that bond?
Yeah, I think it can move around easily, maybe is the best way to say it. For instance, the 100 East project, if we can at least get started with that one with pay as you go, I think that's my sense I get is that would be welcome. So there may be a way to divide the funding for that project up where we pay for half of it in 1 year and half of it the next fiscal years, right? But we start it in the current fiscal year that we're in. So what we'll be doing after this meeting, presuming you all are okay with it, is starting to really drill into how we get those 3 or 4 projects going and exactly how we'll pay for them and how we sequence paying for them as well. So
And I would assume, David, that just with the unknowns with the flood mitigation, that we don't want to tie up any of our bonding capacity right now, right? And
yeah,
have better figures for like the Third South Bridge and some of the other bigger projects.
I think that's right. Yeah, maybe we just slow roll the bonding process a little bit
Mhm.
to your point for that reason. And it gives us a little more room to really at the strategic planning process in particular, nail down what a larger bond may look like. So it buys us a little bit of time. We wouldn't be, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
It also buys us some time to look at other funding options specifically
yeah.
for the 300 South Bridge, and we're working on that right now. But I think we recognize that's a priority. And, so
Mhm.
more to come on that.
Great.
Anything else for David on this capital asset? No? Okay. We'll be talking more about all of this in the future, I'm sure. This is just, we wanted to let you know what the process is gonna be, and then the fact that things do change, as we all saw in the last week. So, I will move on to, public comments, and you have, there's some, I think,
Public comment.
we just have one here this evening. Catherine, I'm sorry, I know the last time you were here, I didn't say your name correctly, so Catherine Holyoke. And she's here to talk to us about the flood.
My name is Catherine Holyoke, and I know you have all heard this a million times. We recognize that. And I am just very concerned because we are, as you know, a town with histories of flooding. I've read the studies. I lived with my in-laws. They had flooding. We live in the 20th century and we have more, you would think would have a little bit more power than 1919 when all of this was happening. I recognize we do not have control over Mother Nature. There is no way that you guys can say, don't dump the rain here. But because it has, I know we didn't think we'd ever have a 100-year flood like we had 2 years ago. And we have. We've had 3 more since then. We had 2 the end of June. And of course, this latest one, and I know you've heard from the Taylors numerous times, but I was there Friday night when they got off the mountain and Dee was in his boots and there was 4 feet of mud. And it was like quicksand. He couldn't even get to his home. It's not in the home, but it was surrounded. They saw through their cameras all of the mud and you can see the pictures, but until you actually see it, you just can't comprehend it. The same way with their son's home next door. I'm not sure Helena Rohr's group, the Rainbow, that all of that area has never flooded in 55 years. And it really hit us this last time. Not only did it hit Friday night, then dozens of us were there Saturday cleaning the mud out to even be able to get them into their homes. And then they worked all day Sunday. They left, went back to the mountain, and they were hit a second time. It didn't come into their place. But by 10 o'clock, another residual flood came off the mountain, and they got a hit a third time in less than 72 hours. And it came back and started washing out another horseshoe area. And we get another flood like this, and I'm afraid it will get the home. It's getting that close, and they've never been flooded for 55 years. I know you've heard that. It's not just the Taylors. I don't know the Neeson girl's new married name, but she is really down there too. But I don't know how we can get the the creeks back in their channels. And I'm not joking or being rude, but the old timer said you use that white powder and use a stick of dynamite. I know we can't do that, but I appreciated hearing all the things that you've talked about that you're already working on. But if I was to have a heart attack right now, you would call the ambulance, you would get the EMTs. If there was some here, you'd try to save my life. Our town is having heart attacks, and we really need to put this as a priority. It's not just Fifth West. I mean, it starts out even with Pat Creek. And I know that's San Juan County, and I recognize that you've heard all of this, but I certainly hope that you will make this a priority, because we don't know. We could get another one of these in just 2 weeks. We just don't know. So I would certainly hope that you would make this your priority. And I know it has to take funding, but we really don't have 2 more years to wait. Appreciate your help.
Thanks,
You
Kath.
guys, it's in your hands. Thanks.
Thanks, Catherine. Okay. Jason and Colin, you guys need anybody else? All right. 2 of our council members are heading out for a meeting in Bryce. So give you guys a few minutes to pack up and go. And they're gonna miss out on Bree's great presentation. So Breeze, why don't you go ahead and come up? We have a department head update regarding parks and recreation and trails.
Thank you.
You guys travel safe.
Thanks.
Next time you're ready for me to share my screen.
Yay.
All right. Now I just gotta make sure I can see this. Okay. Thank you guys so much for having me today at City Council. For those of you that don't know, my name is Brianna Boker. I am the Parks, Arts, and Recreation Director for the city. I've got a department update today. Mostly, I'm going to be talking about the Moab Recreation and Aquatic Center. However, I definitely have some other exciting updates for our department as well that I'd like to share. And I do have a presentation I put together today for you guys. So in my mind, we have really been talking about the Aquatic Center very piecemeal. We've brought counselors out, we've, let our patrons and the community know that we have been having some issues here and there. And this is essentially our opportunity to give a snapshot of changes we've had in the last year, repairs, and upgrades we have made. Yeah, just kind of giving a good, full, comprehensive overview today. So first, we wanted to give updates about the year at a glance. So thus far in the last year, we've had about 44,747 visits. I split it up into kind of the off-season months versus.
Hey, Bree, sorry.
Okay.
Can we move the,
Yeah, we can't see
Sorry.
the whole text.
Oh yeah, I moved it on my screen, but it doesn't. I
Yeah.
don't know if Summer can do that or not.
thank you, Summer.
Might be able to minimize it somehow too.
Do the little one box. Yeah.
Can you move it to the other side? There you go.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, my text is on the right.
Thank you.
It's great. Okay, thank you, Summer. Okay, so 44,747 visits, just to see the difference between kind of our summer seasonal months and the, our off months essentially. I split those up so we could see the difference there. September through May, we had a little over 31,000 visits, 32,000. The majority, about 2/3 of those were residents versus about 1/3 non-residents, where you can see in the June through August months, we have about a 50-50 split between residents and non-residents. So clearly, a huge uptick of non-residents in the summer months. In terms of the numbers year over year, the visits themselves overall were about stagnant. We actually saw an increase in visits from September to May and a decrease in the summer months. And looking at those resident versus non-resident numbers, it's primarily non-residents that we're losing in the summer months. We've seen less tourist traffic at the MREC. We can also see that reflected in our shower numbers, which are also down from the 2022 to 23 fiscal year. But we currently have 913 active memberships. We have 3,889 showers we've sold in the last year, 110 swim lessons this season. We did not host swim lessons in the month of June. We chose to take that month to certify our swim lesson program. So now we have a certified program and 7 certified instructors moving forward. So this year we only hosted swim lessons in the month of July, but the nice thing is we were able to host lessons in the evenings for working families after work hours between 5 and 7 p.m. And we're also going to be hosting lessons throughout the year into the fall and spring, which that'll be a first for us as well. So really trying to prioritize working families there. And we anticipate we'll recover those lesson numbers again with the lessons that we'll be able to host in the fall.
Quick question. When you say resident versus non-resident, resident refers to people in Moab, Grand County, and southern or northern San Juan, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And Castle Valley, sorry.
Yes,
They do come to.
the region.
Yeah.
1,500 fitness class visits, which were up from the previous fiscal year, and we were awarded the highest standard from our insurance agent, the Utah Trust Gold Standard. They come and they do several facility walkthroughs each year and also test out our staff on their life-saving capabilities. So really happy to see that recently.
So Bree, do you think that the numbers were down this year, June through August, because we had some closures and some issues with the pool? Do you think I imagine there would be higher visitation last year.
Yes, that is correct. I really see 2 things. It does seem between the shower numbers and the non-resident numbers we were down about 3,000 to 4,000 non-resident visits this summer. It was pretty significant, but I think there is some sort of tourist component, potentially just lack of visiting the area maybe. But absolutely us being closed and especially not being able to open the outdoor pools until that first week of June, I expect that we saw some lower numbers because of that as well. We're going to get them next year. So, as the community, our staff, and most of our counselors know, we have, really been looking to make some improvements in the last year. So some of the changes that we've made, and we're going to talk about really the repairs to the operation of the pool here in a little bit. This is primarily to process and procedures. Some of the items that we changed this year, we created 2 aid stations on pool decks, whereas previously lifeguards had to run and grab, first aid equipment and backboards from several locations. They're now in 2 stationary locations on pool deck. We now host mandatory monthly lifeguard trainings. We've had the certification of 2 internal lifeguard instructors, which allows us to host lifeguard classes here on site. We enrolled in the Certified Red Cross Swim Lesson Program. We certified 7 swim instructors. We were able to expand that swim lesson program. And then we also were able to add a full-time front desk supervisor position. So that position was part-time previously. We're really excited for that new role. The goal is really to assist in better communicating to the community everything we've got going on in that facility. And then we've also purchased a couple new additional items for the pool deck, a heightened lifeguard station. We've got a new set of lane lines going in, which we're really excited for the Grand County High School swim season coming up. So we got some awesome red devil colors for our new lane lines and backstroke flags in support of team. And we also purchased an additional AED and a ton of new lifeguard training supplies. Schedule changes for the 2023 to 2024 school year, just year. And we have received some feedback about these items, in which we're absolutely looking to the public for their feedback and comments on these to make sure that we're doing our best to really cater to the needs of our community. The goal with any schedule changes was just to hopefully, prevent us from having to turn people away when they come to visit the pool. So people that might not be familiar with a really limited schedule, they would come to the front desk, and because it wasn't, a very specific swim time, they weren't able to swim. So the goal with the pool schedule changes was really just to hopefully give more opportunity for every type of activity to take place at the center between lap swim and recreational swim time. So one of the first things we did is we now allow recreational swim in the shallow area during lap swim time. So if somebody comes in, they can hop in the pool no matter what time it is. We created what we call a combo swim program. So that's where half the pool is dedicated to lap and half to rec swim. So a couple lap lanes are in the indoor pool, and then we shut down the slide. That way we can cater to both groups. That allowed us about an additional 10 hours of lap swim weekly, which during the, fall and spring and winter months, we didn't have any evening lap swim. So that was a priority for us, was again to try to cater to those working families, to provide them some opportunity to lap swim in the afternoons, and about an additional 4 hours of rec swim every week. We added additional seasonal lap swim hours between 9 and 11 a.m. and 2 and 5 p.m. I did get some comments about why we weren't adding additional rec swim hours. And the main reason for that in the summer is we just had more morning availability. It was easier for us. We had more lifeguards that had open availability in the mornings. And it takes less lifeguards to guard just lap swim as compared with recreational swim. So it was, easy, and it was an easy thing for us to do to add in those additional lap swim times, whereas the recreational swim takes much more lifeguards, about 2 or 3 times as many. We did reduce the outdoor pool public swim hours in the evenings on Tuesday, Thursdays between 5 and 7 p.m. That was so that we could host swim lessons in that pool instead. Again, trying to cater to those working families. And because we reduced that pool's hours to the general public, the one program that we opted to reduce this summer was specific to the 5 and under only swim time. So in previous summers, the 5 and under group got about 12 hours of dedicated swim time in the outdoor rec pool every week. And we reduced that to about 4 hours this summer. So we could hopefully give back some of those public swim hours that we reduced due to the swim lesson. So, really working on that give and take to best support the community, to the best of our ability. All right, now we're kind of getting into the bread and butter. So the major mechanical systems inventory. This is something that, Mark and Brandon, our park staff, have been working on for quite some time. And I'll tell you, they've got a much more complicated spreadsheet, but I dialed it down a little bit for the purpose of this meeting. Essentially, in terms of what we've got going on for the facility as a whole, I'm not going to read through every single thing, but we've got 2 boilers, 2 boiler pump motors, 2 water heaters, 1 HVAC rooftop unit, 3 pool filtration systems, 9 pool pumps, and 3 pool pump motors. And you can see the typical lifespan of those different items, which generally range anywhere from on this list 7 to 20 years. We have replaced about 4 of the items on this list so far. But that all being said, what we're hoping to really do moving forward now is build in a capital maintenance plan where every year we're able to really pinpoint specifically what we want to replace and hopefully catch it prior to a repair or it being broken, a repair being need to be made. So the goal is to get on a schedule to where we're able to budget these in appropriately and catch these prior to, the pool needing to be shut down and make immediate repairs in the moment. Items that we have replaced in the last year, we've got the indoor lap pool filtration system, the leisure pool feature pump, a water heater, an HVAC fan, a boiler pump motor, and the outdoor lap pool pump motor was repaired in June of this year. However, it is leaking again, and it looks like that will need to be a replacement here shortly. The other piece of the MRAC's puzzle, so to say, that we've got going on right now is there are some structural concerns that have been brought up in the last year or two that we've noticed as, individually, these items might not cause a lot of concern. But once you look at the comprehensive issues that we're seeing at the MRAC, there is a concern that there might be some sort of infrastructure issue in the southeast corner of the natatorium where the pool is located. Some of the items that we've noticed, we've been tracking some minor cracks in the foundation walls and support column for about the last year. We have noticed a pretty significant separation of the exterior windows in that southeast corner, and the indoor lap pool favors draining to the southeast corner. And so because of that, over the last year, we've really been working to audit why we're seeing the issues in the facility that we're seeing. When the pool closed in November of the last year, Because there was glass in the pool, that was a last minute unexpected closure. We were able to get ground penetrating radar into the pool at that time, but that proved inconclusive. And then in June of this year, we were able to get a comprehensive leak detection audit completed. And I'll go through those results real quick. We have gotten to walk through the pool with most of the counselors and kind of speak to these. But this kind of breaks down exactly what we're seeing in the different pools. So for the indoor lap pool, there were 5 small leaks. They were patched, no plumbing leaks, no surface leaks. But the biggest area of concern, which we've been able to point out, is that the surge tank had 6 major leaks. And that was probably the biggest area of concern that we noticed from this audit. Those have been patched. We anticipate those to hold for at least 2 to 3 years, but we will be looking at long-term solutions. The outdoor lap pool, there was a plumbing leak on the couch return. Although we were able to patch most of the leaks, there are some that we have to patch once the pools are drained, including that one. There were about 50 small leaks on the surface of the outdoor lap pool. Some have been patched. There are a few that need to be fixed once the pool is drained. And then for the outdoor recreational pool, there were no plumbing leaks. There were about 35 small surface leaks. These were mostly patched. There were just a few on the drain covers that need to be fixed once the pool is drained. And then there were 4 leaks in the outdoor pool liner that were patched. So pretty significant repairs took place during that time frame. You know, and this is something that we will continue to watch and audit as years come. Other items that need to be looked at in the coming years that are of immediate concern, the MRAC roof. We had a damaged east awning and the paneling on the north side that's been estimated at least a $50,000 repair plus. We've had some additional hail damage since that initial estimate was given. The outdoor recreation pool slide, it suffered from, you know, typical sunwear in the last 14 years. The pool is about 14 years old now. And fiberglass cracking. So we're looking at making some quick repairs, if not replacing that item altogether, in which case we would obviously get, you know, the community involved in what that would look like. Both outdoor pool liners need to be replaced in the coming years. We would like to paint the entire pool deck with heat resistant paint. Right now we have those pathways that are painted with heat resistant paint, but it would be great to get the whole deck painted. Locker room plumbing needs to be repaired and replaced. We've already been piecemealing that. And then garage door repairs and gym equipment needs to be replaced. So far in the last 14 years, we've only replaced 2 treadmills at that facility. And then in terms of our 5-year capital improvement, money has been allocated for a gym equipment replacement and a structural audit for this year. And then in the coming years, we've got additional monies allocated for capital repairs and upgrades and structural rehabilitation. In the coming 1 to 3 years, the priorities immediately need to be the roof, of course, the structural assessment. And the next steps for that is we're currently in the process of contacting civil engineers to bring civil engineers to do a full structural audit of the facility. The outdoor slide repair and replacement will be hopping on pretty soon. The outdoor pool pump motor will most likely need to replace that at the end of season this year. And then an annual replacement schedule for water heaters, pumps, motors, and liners as we've had listed. So just to kind of, you know, recap, most of those items that needed to be replaced in a 7 to 20 year timeline for our major operational systems. And the pool is 14 years old as we speak now. So it's not surprising that we've seen some issues this year, but it's definitely something that we want to get, you know, more on top of and build into our replacement schedule so that we've got the funds for it and that we're not having to shut down the pool to the community and hopefully get on top of it sooner. So that's it for the MRAC. I've got a couple other updates for the department. Do you guys have any questions about anything that was listed today? Questions for Bree?
No, I feel like you recapped. I'm glad that we're able to present this to the public because I feel like you've walked a lot of us through so we could see it for ourselves. Just, you know, bouncing off of the workshop that we just had, this is a question I asked you, but you know, I'm glad to see that we're talking about, you know, depreciation plans and maintenance plans. I feel like the city hasn't done we are doing that moving forward. And yeah, so I just thank you for making that priority.
100%. Everybody at this facility has worked so hard in the previous years to do everything they could with the resources that they had. And I'm glad that we're able to look at it a little bit more comprehensively now and just come up with a good game plan moving forward. It's such an important resource for the community. So this is great. Okay, I'll run down my list of other kind of department updates real quick and then we can get a move on. So the Swanee Park redesign, I'm so excited. We are almost done with the environmental review process, after which point we can go into contract with our contractor or vendor for the playground. We're actually meeting the vendor out at the site tomorrow morning, which is very exciting. There will be still a community input session for an element or two of the playground at a minimum. So we'll be doing, getting out more to the public in the coming couple of weeks and working with our city council on that as well. But I did confirm with the contractor, sounds like we'll be able to break ground this winter and have a playground in place by early summer. Knock on all the wood that it all just goes according to plan. But super excited for that. Old City Park, we will begin the fence replacement and that entire project here. We will start after Labor Day, although it's looking like it might be closer to early October. We did meet with the Division of Wildlife Resources last week at the park for one final walkthrough of that park site. They are fully on board with the plan and for us to move forward with removing that chain link fence and putting up a 3-piece split rail fence with a backing behind it. And then that project is also going to have a gravel pathway and some new benches placed in as well. So we anticipate
Starting that project?
after Labor Day, but it's looking like it's going to be a little closer to the beginning of October because we're sourcing a fence vendor.
Okay. David, is it possible that we could have Lisa, like, work with Bree to keep because that was such a sensitive issue for
That's a great-
people?
Absolutely.
If we could use Lisa to just keep the community apprised of that project specifically.
100%. I'll work with Lisa on that too. And the Division of Wildlife Resources is fully aware and is willing to support us in any kind of communication that goes out as well. The one thing they did say, and I will just mention in this meeting in case any of the people invested in that project are listening, is that they did recommend that we try to keep some of the vegetation around there, including the Russian olives. And so that is, I would say, just the one small transition from the beginning of the project to when we got the Division of Wildlife Resources involved, is we will try to keep as much vegetation around that pond as we can while still regrading the banks. Our sports team fall registration just closed. We've got volleyball, soccer, flag, and tackle football coming up. Parks, you guys got updates from David in terms of all of the pathways that have been cleared. I do want to put a huge shout out to our parks team, the public works team in the last week for just all of the hard work they've done. I was on those text chains till early in the morning, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I know they were out there just, working their butts off all weekend. So a huge shout out to the parks team and the parks crews that worked overtime this week. In terms of Mill Creek Parkway, Rotary Park to 300 has been cleared. As David mentioned, we're still working near the Bike Skills Park under Main Street and by the Youth Garden Project. And we'll be working with, of course, our engineering and community development department on the missing sections of the pathway currently near the animal hospital. And then our arts team has a ton going on right now. So they currently have their artists in residency. They've got their final projects this coming Friday. The Red Rocks Arts Festival is coming up. It's the last weekend in September. Let's see, the theme is Ripples and Reflections, Water's Transformative Impact on Community. And then we also have several free classes coming up with the Residents and Artists program. We have a weaving class coming up. What is that called? High needle weaving. Arts has always got so much fun stuff going on. I can't even tell you. And then we have got one more art walk for this season and one last arts and ag market coming up. Two arts and ag markets coming up as well. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Questions for Bree before she walks away? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks guys.
All right. We have a presentation next, item 5.1, Utah Support Advocates for Recovery Awareness. Oh, of course.
Thank you. Ours is gonna be a lot shorter and not near as put together.
No.
Right, well, first of all, we just want to say thank you very much for having us here today. We are very honored. Ours is, we requested a proclamation for our Recovery Day,
which is an annual event that we put on every month of September. USARA puts it on statewide. And it's Utah Recovery Community will join in celebrating it's a National Recovery Month by highlighting 4 dimensions that support a life in recovery from substance use disorder. The dimensions are health, home, community, and purpose. Recovery Day celebration supports and empowers individuals in recovery and recognizes the contribution of family members, service providers, and allies who come together to raise awareness that together we can recover from addiction by creating hope, healing, and health through many pathways. Moab likes to focus on bridging gaps and building connection. Our purpose is to celebrate and empower individuals to just show folks that recovery is possible. We really focus on empowering. All of our services are free in our community, creating opportunity for folks in our community to just be part of. This is a space, Recovery Day is a space where we invite all agencies in our community to set up resource booths to show the community what is available to everybody. We give free opportunity drawings. Lots of agencies get to be part of something that's bigger to give back. There'll be free food, dunk tanks, face painting, music. This year, we're gonna have Skate Moab. We was part of a RAP tax grant this year that helped made this event possible too. It's all inclusive and it's just really fun, family friendly. USARA's mission is to connect and inspire communities to advocate for addiction recovery. And we envision a Utah where recovery, community, and connection are recognized as the most valuable asset for people to recover and from addiction. And so we just really appreciate everybody's support and are really excited for this year. This is going to be our 9th annual Recovery Day in this community. On Saturday, we're going to have our 4th annual overdose awareness event. And yeah, we're just really grateful for everything that the community supports us in, and just really glad that you guys had us here tonight. And
So don't go anywhere.
okay.
I'm going to read the Recovery Day proclamation. Whereas it's evident that individuals in our community through treatment and community support do recover from addiction and the harmful effects that those addictions create in their lives and the lives of their families. And whereas the families of those suffering from addiction provide ongoing love and support to those on the road to recovery. And whereas volunteers throughout our community offer their time and service to assist individuals and families recovering from addiction. And whereas resources exist online and in our community to increase people's awareness about how substance use disorders affects children's families and our society. And whereas such education is essential to overcoming misconceptions and achieving long-term recovery. And whereas our community of professionals dedicate their work to further each individual's progress in their personal recovery. And whereas recovery from addiction results in stronger citizens who contribute to our community in meaningful ways and assist others who are climbing the same ladder of recovery. And whereas celebrating the successful recovery stories of these individuals, families, volunteers, and professionals reinforce those successes and encourage others that there is hope, that peer support and treatment are effective, and that recovery is possible. Whereas using positive language and educating others on the importance of using personal first language, reducing stigma and shame in our community. Now, therefore, I, Joette Langanese, the mayor of the city of Moab, Utah, do hereby proclaim September 5th, 2024 as Recovery Day in the city of Moab, and call upon all citizens community agencies, religious organizations, medical facilities, and businesses to join in the celebration of individual, family, and community recovery from the effects of addiction, therefore strengthening this community in which we live. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the city of Moab this 5th day of September 2024. Thank you guys for everything you do for us. You Come to the event. What time is it?
It's from 4 to 7 PM on the 5th
At
at
Swanee
Swanee Park.
And I will be there and I will read this again.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Oh.
you.
Yes. Is this their copy? Oh, okay. You have to attest it though, Summer.
Thank you guys so
I
much.
think
Thank you.
I didn't, is this it?
You can give us ours at the event.
I'll give it
if
to,
you want.
that's okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you then. That's probably a better time to do it, okay?
Awesome. Thank you guys so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you guys. Thank you for your support.
Okay, we move on to the consent agenda, items 6.1, 2, 3, and 4. I just read the proclamation for Recovery Day. You also have in your packet the letter that was drafted for AOG's building upgrade, Buildings Up. It's a commitment to improving energy efficiency and uplifting the quality of life for residents in our underserved community. So this provides weatherization products and is for free for people that need to have their homes upgraded. So that's in your packet. We also have the approval of the minutes, July 23 and August 6 for a special meeting on truth and taxation. And then the approval of the bills against the city of Moab in the amount of $1,397,793. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll
second.
All right, motion by Caitlin, second by Tawny. Discussion, Caitlin.
Yeah, I just had a clarifying question. So the Buildings Up is, we are supporting funding for SULOG/CERTA.
Yes,
So
they can get grants.
residents would apply to CERTA directly for that funding
Correct.
if awarded.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Anything else? All right, motion to approve the consent agenda made by Caitlin, second by Tawny. All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion passes 3-0. All right, moving on to general business. Michael, consideration of a contract award to Harrison Oilfield Services for the stabilization of Mill Creek at the 500 West Bridge project. And is Mark gonna
Yeah, Mark.
present with you too?
I'll just give a quick overview. This is one of the flood mitigation projects, recovery projects that's been being worked on in the planning stages for a while. This will clean up under the bridge on 5th West and the culvert and provide some removal of sediment in the area, as well as we will be able to also take care of some of the debris that has accumulated just in this year. And yeah, so that's the project. It's been bid. It's being paid for through the trust. And I do believe there's some NRCS money involved as well. Is that right?
Yes.
So we are recommending we move forward with this project and get some of that sediment out of there.
Questions for Michael or Mark?
Do we anticipate the scope of this is gonna change? I mean, it'll be the same scope, but
Yeah, we do a little bit. We do intend to add a little bit to it. For instance, all the sidewalk down there needs to be removed at this point. All the trail that was concrete needs to be removed. The sediment is deeper than what was scoped previously. We still need to work with private property owners in the area. Not all of this is on public property, but a good portion of it is, especially under the bridge and things like that. But yes, we do expect that the scope is going to change just a bit. It has to. Just things change.
So we did this before, didn't we? Or is this a little different than what we did before this recent? flood?
I'd have to have Mark answer that question. If, you mean with this year?
Yeah, I thought we cleaned out everything under the bridge once already this year. This is different than that?
This is more.
Yeah, and I think you were talking more about the culvert cleaning out. This is more, I'll let Mark
More
talk
of
about
a armoring bridge type stuff.
Right.
Previously, the area in the culvert was cleaned out from sediment. We had added some temporary riprap to protect the bridge, and a lot of that's been carried off or buried at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we anticipate that this will be permanent? Or do we anticipate that we may have to do this over and over again if we continue to have this kind of flooding?
This is probably significantly maintenance. So I'd
Okay.
call it, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark or Michael? All right, this is a roll call vote because you're approving funding expenditure of $510,451.30. Caitlin?
Yes.
Oh, wait, did I call for, I need a motion first, sorry.
I can, so I move to award the construction contract to Harrison Oilfield Service, Inc. for the stabilization for Mill Creek at 500 West project in the amount of $510,451.30 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and notice of award.
Motion by Luke, second. Second. Second by Tawny. Any discussion, Luke?
No.
Tawny? Caitlin? Nope. Roll call, Luke?
Aye.
Tawny? Aye. Caitlin?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, last item of general business is consideration of the approval of the special event permit for the 2025 Red Rock Retreat Car Show. And you guys have been waiting patiently with your bag of treats. And we've been wondering what's in those bags.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I like the shirts.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Pretty good.
We actually brought some shirts for you guys as well too, and some little swag items.
Hey, me, do you want to do your, share this?
How do I share my screen?
Wait, it's in.
Okay. Showing with computer audio for now, but you'll actually just mute it anyway. And then. There you go. Well, and then, are you, so you're logged in to the, are you? Okay, cool. So then go back to Zoom.
See, you know.
On occasion.
We thought you were in personal IT.
Oh, we gotta do, we gotta do a couple quick settings things. Thank you. Yeah. Fine, sure. Let me do that. Share screen, or do you wanna share? Sure, maybe we'll go with that one, but on this. All right, and then go back to, is it that one? No, where were you? That website, okay, cool. And then you present. Then hit present again. Hey.
Hey, nice job, David, you're hired.
Good evening, council members, Mayor. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Chase Clavell. I am the president of C10 Club Utah. We are here to propose the C10 Red Rock Retreat. First, I would like to tell you a little bit about C10 Club and who we are. So we always say the trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. C10 Club is a worldwide association of classic GM truck owners. This club was founded in 1999. We have grown rapidly in the last 25 years. The popularity of GM trucks has really grown exponentially in the last few years. And so our numbers in the state of Utah, we have 1,200 members in our group, and it continues to grow. C10 Club is built upon providing a family atmosphere and a strong commitment to make a difference in our local communities. Our motto is good people, cool trucks, and great times. Who is C10 Club? From emergency responders and metal fabricators to attorneys and business owners, C10 Club members are like-minded individuals that come from all walks of life. Members are typically between the ages of 35 and 55 and create a relaxed atmosphere that is fun and safe for families and people of all ages. C10 Club is family. Making a difference in the state of Utah. So as the president of the Utah chapter of C10 Club, it's very important for us to give back to different businesses and charities in the local community. Just last year, we raised nearly $4,000 in donations for the Road Home homeless shelter. That was done through their Candy Cane Lane program. We had 3 trucks completely full of toys and household items that we were able to take down there. Really cool program. They allow the unsheltered people to come in. It gives them a little bit more dignity. They get credit and they shop for items for their family members. So it's a really cool thing. We've also made significant donations to the Utah Food Bank through food drive donations at different events that we hold. And one thing that I'm very proud of is our donations to the American Cancer Society. Every year we do a calendar. We put trucks in there from all over the country. This is sold nationally around the country. $5 from every calendar goes directly to the American Cancer Society. We raised almost $2,400 last year. It's a cause that's near and dear to my heart because my grandpa Clavel died of cancer. We were best friends, and that's how I ended up getting my truck and what got me into this community. We also support a lot of local businesses through our meets and different things that we do. So what is a C10 truck? It's probably a question that's already on your mind. C10 trucks are just classic GM trucks. We consider them between the years 1919 and typically right up to 1989. We don't have Fords, we don't have Mustangs, we don't have other types of trucks. It is exclusive to only GM truck. Important to note too that other brands of classic cars and trucks or vehicles not meeting the criteria would be excluded from the C10 Red Rock retreat. So what is the idea for the C10 Red Rock retreat? If the city council approves, we would hold a classic GM truck event. It would be an opportunity for rest and relaxation. We want it to be a laid back, kind of relaxed vibe. It's a family friendly, fun event with beautiful trucks for the whole community to enjoy. The retreat would be, like I said, limited to classic GM trucks only. A small registration fee would be charged to participants in order to cover the expenses related to the event. And those expenses are just the cost of renting the park and also the special event permit. We would hold a large silent auction, which we would like to benefit the Grand County Search and Rescue Team. And all proceeds from the show after expenses will go directly back into the city of Moab. I'll provide complete transparency of our books so you can see all of the money that comes in, where it goes, where it was spent. And we'd like to give the city council the opportunity to decide where that money goes, whether it be youth sports or different programs, arts, or different items where the community could put that money. This is significant and could be a great boost to the city or some program that you guys would choose. We have created partnerships across the country holding these shows, and I'll talk about it a little later, but we've been able to give back to cities very significantly through those partnerships. So why the Graham County Search and Rescue Team? This is a cause that's very near and dear to my heart. April 30th, 2005, I was down here in Moab for the April Action Car Show. I've been coming to that car show with my family since I was a little boy. I've been bringing my 72 Chev down here for many years. I've owned it since 1990. So we came down here that weekend. We usually camp near the town. We couldn't find camping near the Slick Rock area where you usually like to be. And so we ventured out by Cane Creek Springs. My best friend and I were camping near the edge of a cliff. I, in an act of stupidity, got too close to the edge of the cliff and I fell. I was very, very lucky to live through that fall. I shattered my pelvis, my sacrum, broke my back in 5 different places. And I was very, very lucky to be rescued by the Grand County Search and Rescue Team. My best friend stacked rocks in the road. They showed up, they rappelled down the cliff, and they saved my life. They put me on a helicopter. I was flown to St. Mary's in Grand Junction. At the time, I don't think Moab Regional Hospital was even a thing. And the members of the team came to Grand Junction, Colorado. They met with my family. They gave them a CD with these pictures that you're seeing there. They comforted them. And at the end of the day, when I was down and out and I couldn't work after this accident for a year and a half, they wrote their bill off. And I think it was almost a $3,000 bill for their rescue. And so for me, it's time to give back to the city of Moab and also to the Grand County Search and Rescue Team. So what would the C10 Red Rock retreat look like? Like I said, we want it to be a laid back and relaxed event. We estimate that first year attendance could be between 75 to 200 classic GM trucks. This is different than the April Action Car Show. Once again, we don't allow cars at all. It's a different demographic of the community. The GM truck community is all over the nation, and these guys travel. In June, we held a show at the Utah State Fair Park, which is one that we probably will not do anymore, to be honest. But we had nearly 600 trucks there. We had trucks from 24 different states, 22 trucks from Canada. So people come from all over and they travel for these shows. The pavilion would be used to host the large silent auction. We would hope to also have some local musicians playing some kind of relaxing, kind of more acoustic type sounds. We would set up extra trash receptacles as well as portable restrooms throughout the park. We'll have volunteer staff that will patrol the park throughout the day to pick up trash, monitor for unsafe activity, watch for people drinking alcohol, etc. Alcohol will not be sold nor permitted at the show. Vendors. How would vendors work? We would set up a large space around the outer edge of the park. And we would use that for C10 community vendors. We'd also like to invite local artists, local food trucks, and local businesses to participate and have an opportunity to make money at the park. We will not charge any local vendors or businesses or food trucks any fee to be involved. If there are C10 community vendors or, for instance, parks companies, etc., that want to be involved, we would ask them to make a donation to the silent auction and maybe pay a small vendor fee of around $50. And there again, we're trying to cover expenses. Lastly, all vendors would be required to obtain proper licenses in accordance with the city, sales tax licenses, etc. Community partners, as I mentioned earlier, C10 Club's been putting on shows all across the country for the past 25 years. We have years of combined experience, not only marketing these shows, but executing successful events. And we've created strong partnerships with other local communities, such as Ruidoso, New Mexico, Woodland, California, Avila Beach, California. I've got a very good friend out in South Carolina. He does a show called the C10 Fall Revival. Last year, he raised $33,000 at that show to be put back in the community. He made his donations, one directly to the Ronald McDonald House and another one to a battered women's shelter in his community. But that's what we're about. We're about giving back to the community. We want to be able to make a difference here in Moab. So lastly, just to summarize, C10 Club, family-oriented group, kids, families. It's a really fun group. Being around these people, we always say, you know, and I think I said it earlier, the trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. They're just amazing people. They're kind people. They're giving people. They're people that want to make a difference. They're people that want to get behind charities and make and for a good cause. Our goal with the Red Rock Retreat, once again, is to give back to the Moab community. This event would be free and fun for the entire family and the community. We think that the Moab community would really enjoy this event, to come out and see these trucks. Like I said, very different from the April Action Car Show. These are very specialized trucks. Some of these trucks reach into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Very specialized, and very unique classic vehicles for people to be able to see. The event would draw people from all over the United States. It would showcase the beauty and multiple recreation opportunities of the Moab area. And once again, all proceeds for the event will go directly back into the Moab community.
Thank you. So the event is scheduled for, you're proposing,
We would like to, if approved, we would like to hold the event May 17th next year. But we could be flexible with that. If you guys think that that's too close to the April event, we could move it. We want this to be as least of an impact on the community and the city around the park as can be. We want it to make an economic impact in the community. We want to be able to give back to the community, but we don't want it to negatively impact its residents. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for the councils, this is the reason it's coming before you, since it's a new event. And so when we have new events, you guys need to make that approval. And then you wouldn't, and then if you wanted to continue this event, it would not come back to us unless there were some problems. So,
We would hope to continue it every year. And I
Yeah.
think that you'll find that our group is a very respectful group of guys. We recently just held a big event at the Utah State Capitol. When I first went to them, they just said, absolutely not. And I said, well, wait a second. They said, go to our website, look at our social media. And they did. And we had more talks and discussions, and we held the event there. We had 25 trucks directly on the front steps of the Utah State Capitol. It's never been done before in the history of the Utah State Capitol. And I was very proud to have that event. Beautiful trucks up there. And after the event, the Utah Highway Patrol troopers came out. They were walking around. They said, hey, this was really cool. You guys did a really good job. And it was great to get that feedback, because not only did we treat the place with respect, which is a very big thing about C10 Club. We respect the spot. That's something that you can expect from us. If there's somebody in my group that's acting out, doing burnouts, exhibition of speed, those things are not allowed. They'll be asked to leave. The next day after the event, we will police and patrol that park and clean up every single piece of trash and leave it exactly how we found it. That's how we are.
great. Kelly, do you have anything you would like to add?
Just the only things we had were we already did address some of the areas on the map that they presented, so that's been updated, and then talked about things like trash and recycling. So we've already gone over that with the parks team.
Great.
We're happy to meet any expectation or obligation that the city may have for this event. We, like I said, would like to form a partnership with the city, and this is something that we would like to bring back to the Moab community year after year. Not only do we think that these beautiful trucks, along with the beautiful scenery that we have here, would be excellent, but we think it would be so awesome to be able to do something cool for the Moab community.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kelly, in terms of the potential dates, how do you feel that fits in with, spring's a busy time in Moab, right? But I'm sure you've been thinking through how this could fit in.
So the April Action Car Show is at the end of April, and then the free concert series don't start until usually June or July. So that time in May there isn't another event that would be open, but there are other dates that would work as well if that's a concern.
Isn't the Arts Festival Memorial Day weekend?
Memorial Day weekend.
Questions for Kelly? And I'm sorry, what is your name again?
My name's Chase.
Chase.
I guess my question is just like, what do you feel the impact on the grass might be having to like car related events a couple weeks apart?
I think just based on our talks with Mark, they are far enough apart that it wouldn't be, it's not back-to-back weekends. So the other thing is they're not, they're parked, so they're not like moving around on the grass, whereas like if it's a little bit harder on the grass if stuff is, it's wet and they're driving in and out and in and out. Did you have anything to talk about?
This is
The only other, my understanding, that Swanee Park would allow vehicles to actually be on the grass and, parks. Just throw out there, you know, that this is something that we definitely.
Speaking of the mic.
Thanks.
This is this would be only the second event throughout the year that we allow cars to be on the Swanee Park grass. So it is something to consider, you know, just in terms of long, impact to the Swanee Park area for long-term use.
I wonder if the fall might be a better time. And the only reason I bring that up is the neighbors in that community, you know, that's gonna be 3 events with the car show, your show, and then the arts festival. Right, you know, it's like every other weekend, there's gonna be an event.
Or is it better to get them all?
Done at one. I know, I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
I think it's a really cool event. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and Jason and Colin aren't here either to give their input. I'm sure this guy will think it's like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But,
I think I might be able to. address
Sure.
your concern. The reason why we chose May on the calendar is because the C10 community, the C10 truck calendar throughout the United States is pretty busy. There's about
Right.
1 show a month. And this was kind of the window, when I went to the national level of the club and said, this is what we want to do. And I received a report, their support. This is where they kind of said that we could fit it in.
okay,
Not saying that I couldn't move it, but I don't.
that's the ideal time frame for you guys.
Yeah,
Right.
because we would get the most draw. If people are pulled to other shows, we would have a low turnout, and then the economic impact to the city and the amounts of donations we're able to make would be effective.
Sure.
I think it's also important to know that this ends at 4 o'clock. This isn't going later into the evening.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, and
and that historically has been what some of the neighbors were concerned with some of those events went later and they were,
yeah,
you know, music or loud or whatever.
I think on the original application, we'd actually also said that we'd like to set up on Friday. It would be nice to be able to get some things in there on Friday, but we could also get there very early in the morning on Saturday, maybe 5 a.m. and do some of those things. as
Probably better to do it in the evening. Probably better.
It's quite.
I know I would not be happy at 5 a.m. if I heard that, but yeah.
I
that's
would,
just
but
me.
Joanne wouldn't.
To create the least amount of impact to the residents of the park. That's
Sure.
important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to be fair as well, I mean, through the summer, we have the free concert series. I mean, I wouldn't say that spring is the only busy, loud time at Swanee Park, just, you know. Yeah, so I mean, I think, yeah, it's partially, you know, if fall doesn't work for you guys, I mean, I do agree. I think that fall could also be a nice time. Also, you know, grass is starting to wind down and, you know, starting to go dormant. So if we're concerned about impacts to grass, that's not,
And your art shows Memorial Day, is that, so if we were to move it from the 17th to say the 24th to give more time in between.
That's when the arts festival.
yeah, that's Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend.
That's Memorial Day weekend, I believe.
I mean,
Do we have confirmation the Arts Festival is coming back this year?
No, I don't know. Have you heard anything?
Teresa does want to meet with us, but I haven't heard any confirmation.
Okay.
Invite them to our event.
I mean, I guess
Awesome.
I'd defer to both of you on your opinion about changing the date or not. You have more awareness of full schedule and impacts to parks.
In terms of just entire community event schedule, both times are really busy. In the fall, you get, we run our Red Rock Arts Festival, the Harvest Fest, the Women's Fest has started this year. Usually Wabi Sabi and Community Rebuilds do an event, Scoffers and Rocks. So definitely both ends are.
Oh,
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the presentations that you guys gave and the consideration that you clearly show in kind of setting these events up, I feel like this would probably be one of the quieter events that gets held
Yeah.
in Swanee
You
Park.
guys rev your engines like the car should have done. There's a little
If
bit.
there's somebody doing that, that's part of the team that'll be walking around. That's not gonna,
Right.
they drive in and they turn them off. There was a show we were at in Phoenix last year and there was a guy doing that, just driving everybody crazy. I won't allow it. on Friday night, we would like to possibly cruise up by the Colorado River. We've got a videographer. We've already been talking to people. We've received a huge response on social media, just people just so excited to come to Moab and see Moab, everything it has to offer. And we've been putting up little kind of teaser videos of trucks driving down that canyon. But one thing we'd like to do on Friday night before the show is I'll cruise up that canyon up to Red Cliffs Lodge and see if, I of course need to coordinate with them and see if we'd be able to rent out the Cowboy Bar or something, but have kind of a pre-party event up there the night before the show. That's something we kind of like to do, but also another way to economically give back to the city.
No, I think this is a great event overall.
I do
It exposes like a new population to Moab. I really appreciate just kind of how much of a force or driving force contributing back to the community is. I know a lot of people really feel that a lot of these events are kind of like using the community and then leaving. And so just the careful deliberation and like so much of this seems very thought through. You guys are clearly very experienced in hosting these events. So yeah, I'm all for it.
And like I said, it's very important for me to give back to this community. I shouldn't have lived through that fall. And so with everything that I've done since that day, I've wanted to make a difference in this world. And so when I was appointed the president of the chapter here, it's been a very important thing to me to give back to the community. It drives Bo crazy sometimes because we're doing things above and beyond, or we're trudging around 55 gallons of drums full of food because I've wanted to just have a food drive as part of our event. And so I'm on my second spin here. Part of my heart is still in Moab and always will be. And to have the opportunity to give back to this town, to give back to the Grand County Search and Rescue Team would be really big to me. It would mean a lot.
I really like the idea of having an event that really celebrates that crew. They really are amazing, and like the situations that they get themselves into and get people out of are.
Well, and then the caring and the kindness they showed to my family, and this was 20 years ago. I'll actually be celebrating the 20th anniversary of this accident this coming year, but the care that they took to drive to Grand County, to meet with my parents, to comfort them, to talk to them, to give them pictures, and that's going above and beyond. It's something they didn't need to do. And then when it all came down to it, and we called them and said, I don't know how I'm going to pay your bill, they said, don't worry about it. And that's good people, and that's people that I want to give back to.
Now I'm close friends with several members, and they are fundamentally just good human beings. So
we've got about 5 members here in the Moab area. One of them actually is a firefighter over at here. And he's actually not going to be at the show if we do have a show, because he's going to be deployed to military service. So we've got veterans in the group, we've got police officers, and we really like to celebrate those people and what they do.
I just have one more clarifying question. So you said in your presentation that you'll give excess proceeds back after you cover the cost.
That's right.
To the cities, that to this community, city as the community, or?
I would like to make the check out to the city of Moab. Maybe one of those big checks, and it can be cool and take a picture. I would like you guys to make the decision where that money goes, and that's your decision to tell me. And then I would like to know before the show so I could tell everybody, this is why we're doing this. This is where your money's going. People know my story in the C10 truck community. I've been on podcasts, I've been around, and everybody knows why I'm here. Everybody knows my personal connection to Moab. But I'd like to be able to tell them, we want to make a difference for youth sports, or we want to donate it to the arts programs, or whether it be trails or environmental programs. I want Moab, I want you guys to make that decision where that money goes. And then I want to work my butt off the next 8 months to make sure that I've got sponsors and that I can get people here and advertise this show, get a good amount of registrations. If we charge $30 per truck and we get 100 trucks here, that's $3,000. That will cover the expense to rent the park. That'll cover the special permit fee. And that'll already, just at 100 trucks, give me money that I can get back to you guys.
Connie, do you have any comment?
No, I would tend to support this even though my dad was a Ford guy.
You know, we've got a couple guys with Fords. We do a really big, we call it Truck or Treat Halloween show. And I've got a guy that brings out a Ford and he puts a Chevy emblem on the front of it and he dresses up in Chevy for that. And it's kind of a snobby thing, right? Because we're the Chevy guys, but it's that exclusivity that our following, that our membership, they appreciate, because when they go to a show, they're parked next to another guy with the C10. And when they've got a problem with their power steering pump or a leak, hey, have you been through this before? Oh yeah, you need to do this. And they help you right then and there. The best people I've ever met are in this truck community. Just salt of the earth, good people. And so it's hard to be exclusive sometimes and tell people, no, you can't bring your Camaro. But that's what sets us apart, is that you can't have your Camaro or your Ford.
Sorry, Tawny.
I don't have a Ford. I'm sure your dad's Ford was beautiful.
So we have,
He
we
has
have,
that.
you know, we can either, you guys can make a motion. There's three of you. Jason and Colin aren't here. If you want to wait for them to get their input, if we, you know, we could do that. Or we could go ahead and consider it tonight. And if they have any issues, they can bring it back. I kind of feel like we should go ahead and move forward. But if you could give us the copy of your slideshow, then we can share it with those two guys. And if they have any more questions, they can reach out to Kelly. Does that sound good?
They're happy to call me.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the request for approval of the use special event permit for 2025 C10 Red Rock Retreat.
Motion by Luke, second,
A second.
seconded by Tawny. Discussion, Luke?
Nope.
Tawny?
Nope.
Caitlin?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Wrong
opposed?
hand.
So it looks like you're on for the 17th of May. All right,
Yes. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It sounds like it's gonna be fun.
We really look forward to working with you on this and doing something awesome in your
Yep.
community.
Yep.
I don't know what sizes they are, but these are just.
We've got shirts for all you guys. So
Yeah.
we brought some
Wow.
stickers and.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I will communicate with Kelly and get fees paid and everything and, okay? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, yep. Kelly will help you figure everything out. Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right.
Thanks,
Look
Kelly.
forward to seeing you guys in the spring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done.
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you. so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
thanks you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great winter, fall and winter. We'll see you in the spring. All right. C10 trucks coming right up.
Love it.
All right, David, you're up with the city manager update.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hard act to follow.
I know.
What's that?
Where's your swag? Yeah, that's
Oh,
right. What's
Serious.
the matter with you?
I honestly don't have a ton to update on. Obviously, we had a busy weekend out there in the city. I really just wanted to say, you know, I actually got to be in town for part of the recovery and work that was done over the weekend, and you know, Brianna and Brandon and Mark and Parks, and I just wanted to say Levi and Lane and Chase and their crews, and yeah, it was cool to be out there and watch Mark and Didar and Beecham just really on top of it and being proactive about figuring out what we needed to do fast and what we needed to do to adapt to what was happening in the moment. And then, you know, I was in touch with Lex and James as the event was happening, and just seeing how people, and even actually Obi, and he had a crew member in the sewer department go out and was going to help pump water out of someone's basement, but it turned out there was too much silt in it, so he couldn't do it, but at least got out there in this sort of emergency response capacity. So just all of our, the point being, all of our departments really are affected by and play a role in response when these kinds of events happen. And it was just really gratifying to see it happening firsthand. So I just want to say thank you to the staff for that. It was impressive.
Can I
That's it.
piggyback on that?
Piggyback away.
Well, and I just want to thank the council because you guys are out there, helping out too. And so not only, it was a whole city effort, not just the staff, but you guys too. So just wanted to give a plug to these guys.
Right on. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, Caitlin.
I mean, I echo the same. Yeah, I mean, I think we deserve a teeny portion of gratitude compared to the staff. I mean, just seeing how much they have worked literally the entire summer on flood response has been incredible, and I'm grateful for the team and how much they've stepped up. As for what I've been up to, other than this weekend, on the 8th, I attended a Moab Area Housing Task Force meeting. Some quick highlights: the Housing Authority is moving their office, or officially moving in, next Tuesday, September 3rd. They're located at the old Free Health Clinic building on 500 West.
Right by the old Jimbo's.
Yeah, by Teenage. So they are in conversations. They're gonna be renting out their current building, but that hasn't been finalized yet. Also got an update. Amy Weiser is the new planning department planning director at the county. Some other updates. And then we talked a lot at the meeting about the Housing Task Force did a recent housing survey that received about 500 responses. So we received a report on that, including demographic information. And one thing that we're looking at with this housing survey is trying to understand and get more reliable data on what it looks like to be a renter in the community. Trying to understand, getting percentages of how many people are on verbal leases or have been, rehoused or leases ended because their houses are going for sale. Just trying to get a better picture in data, what we all kind of know it's like to be a renter in the community right now. So that was really interesting. There will be more to come with that. On the 14th, I attended the local homeless council meeting, and then I also attended the LGBTQIA plus community coalition first startup meeting, which was attended by therapists and healthcare providers, Grand County School District, the county, CJC, kind of a coalition of people talking more about how to provide support to our LGBTQIA community members, talking about community coalitions, political action, providing more culturally aware trainings for healthcare providers, social service providers, creating more safe spaces and pro-social activities, and just kind of like more of a wraparound approach to being allies in our community. In large partnership with Moab Pride. I also want to give time to that, also in acknowledgement that September is kind of our local Pride Month here in Moab. So really excited to see coalition starting on that. And then last Thursday and Friday, I attended a Colorado Association of Ski Towns meeting in Durango. Presentations focused on an All Are Welcome campaign, which is kind of a volunteer-based inclusivity training for the hospitality industry in Durango. Presentation on a hotel conversion project that the city's been working on, converting a Best Western into an affordable housing project. And then City of Glenwood Springs talking about basically longer term conversion of longer term stays, extended stay hotels, which is kind of like a mid-level conversion of hotels, still commercial use, not full conversion to residential, but kind of different way of looking at overnight accommodations facilities. We also talked about, micro transit system that they have in Durango. Interesting to hear about how another community is doing that. Talking about co-response teams within the law enforcement unit, within the Durango Police Department. Yeah, lots of stuff. I always learn a lot from what Colorado's doing. Good to connect with them. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Caitlin. Tawny?
I went to the Housing Authority meeting, but Caitlin already talked about their new building and the things that they were up to, so I won't repeat that, but we had the meeting in their new space and it is really nice. They've done a really good job with it. And the only other thing I did want to say thank you to the Public Works and our Parks Department and also the county. County had some pretty interesting issues happening also. And everybody came home, which is a good thing. And I did want to mention the passing of Senator Karen Main. She has been a tireless worker and she truly was a caring individual. Her husband was Ed Main and she ran and won his seat after he passed away. And I have had some personal interactions with her and she was just a very, very caring and kind and thoughtful person. And she will be a missed commodity on the Hill.
Luke?
I attended the local homeless council meeting earlier this month. Looks like our literally homeless numbers are a little bit larger than they have been in the past. But we are organizing as a group kind of tours of one another's facilities in terms of all the members of the committee, and it's really just to get a better sense of kind of the requirements, the constraints that other organizations have to work within to better educate the other organizations and ideally help streamline some of the very significant amounts of cooperation that these organizations engage in. We get an update from Sea Haven. I guess this was a low month for them, but this past month they gave out $18,000 in client assistance, 16,000 of which was for housing specifically. And then I attended the GWISA meeting. We got an update about some of the damage that had occurred after the flood in June. There was something else that happened in July. Oh no, so they had a pump go out July 17th. It's one of their main pumps, and luckily because they have an interconnect with San Juan County, they were able to manage still delivering water to any of the portions that were getting fed off of that. The locals did a very good job of conserving water during that time. I think total water consumption went down 22%. And the city is working with GWISA to get our interconnect set up with them so that there's more redundancy within the system. And then we just got an update 2 days ago that there was some significant damage that occurred as a result of this most recent flood. Currently, where is it? Skyline Drive is experiencing their water service at a much reduced pressure. They're working on getting the main line fixed, but they're going to need to call in contractors who have the heavier equipment necessary to actually be able to repair all of this. But yeah, there's another situation that they were able to get to and able to kind of rectify a little bit more rapidly. And that's about all that I have. I just want to continue echoing the appreciation for all of the crews, driving out around town at 8 a.m. The day after the flood and seeing just the almost literal mountains of sediment that had been just pushed up on 300 South just really spoke to how late The staff were working into the night and they were back out there pretty early in the morning as well. So yeah, just shout out to that group of city employees. Yeah, every time one of these situations arises, I'm really blown away at just like their commitment to doing what they can for this community.
Okay, I attended the Trails to Tomorrow presentation to the Grand County Commission with Jason. That was interesting. I encourage you to watch the YouTube video of that presentation. Also attended the Grand Business Summit out at Red Cliffs Lodge. A lot of good information that was presented there. And including Caitlin on the housing.
Yeah,
with-
forgot to
and
mention.
Caitlin and Michael.
Yeah.
They did a great job. I think it was Rachel Moody from the real estate industry, and then Caitlin, of course, affordable housing, Michael, community development, and then John Knight, who's a developer. And so it was a great group.
Best
Good.
one,
What's that?
the best one.
Yeah, it was the best one in my
Oh my
opinion.
gosh, thank you.
Yeah. So it was good. It was good to be there. David was there, Colin and Jason were there. So we had a good showing. I also,
There too.
who was there?
Kelly.
Kelly, oh, that's right.
And
Kelly
Brianna.
was there. Sorry. Yeah, I sat with you guys. Yeah, we had a really good city showing at that summit. So that was really good.
They sat
Um,
at the back table, that's why.
I know, they were hiding in the corner. And then, met with Congressman Curtis last week. That was really informative and the flood hadn't happened yet. Yes, the flood hadn't
Correct.
happened yet, but he's well aware of this situation. He did contact me the day after he was heading out of the country. And we'll continue to work with him and his staff on, he suggested that we look at earmarks. And so that's something that I think we will be looking into, hopefully for the election, because everything's gonna change after the election, no matter who wins. We also met with Romney's staff. That was very good. She, gave us some really good feedback about infrastructure money. So I met with, yeah, that was Sunday afternoon. She drove down for Sunday or Saturday night to meet with us. Also met with phone call with Mike Mauer from the governor's office to get some, basically it's just like, we need some financial support down here. And then yesterday I met with Mike Kennedy, Dr. Mike Kennedy, who's a senator, and he's also running for John Curtis's seat. He's very much interested in working with us on this issue and other issues as they, once he gets elected potentially. The interesting thing that all of them said to us that I found surprising that we kind of forget about is that we really need to be focusing on Moab when we have these events and we're asking for federal support and state support, is to remind our delegation that this is Moab. This is an internationally renowned town, and that they need to help us. And so I think that's something when we do applications that we will be focusing on. This place is special. We all know it's special. It's known around the world, and our state and our federal folks need to help share in the cost when we have these kind of events. And then lastly, I'm meeting with Jacques, the chair of the county commission, on Friday. Jason, who's on the Economic Development Board and the Travel Council Board, has suggested that we, based on the feedback we got from our community, request some TRT mitigation money this year from the county. So we want to talk to the commissioners first and get a sense of what their feeling about it is, but I think it's something that we should consider. And so I have a draft letter, but before we send that out, I think we want to have a conversation with the commissioners, and then I'll reach out to you all. But if you guys are okay with us potentially making an ask of the county for TRT mitigation funds, I think that we would like to have that conversation with the commission. So if we do send out a letter, I think we'll just have it ratified. I'll reach out to you guys first and share it with you, and then ratify it, because they're in the budget process right now. So there's kind of an urgent need to get that out if that's the direction we're gonna go. So we'll see what they have to say, and then we'll go from there. And that's all I have. Except for I need a motion. We're not gonna go into closed session. We already did that. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Motion by Luke,
Second.
second by Tawny, all in favor.
Nice.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Way too long.